Hello world, this is Shruti Pandey and this is going to be crazy. This is going to be fun, I hope so. And this is going to be a surprise for the testers who watch my podcast, itishruti. I have with me two amazing gentlemen, two amazing independent testers and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs that I see themselves as. I have Mirza, I have Teapot, and most of you would know both of them. They are really great names in our testing community. So I'm very happy to have them. And I've planned something special for all of you, which is roundtable testing. The concept of roundtable is not something new. It basically means we discuss or debate on a topic. The topic here is testing, and we keep a fair discussion, a fair debate where we give equal opportunity for each other and listen to our concerns, opinions, arguments, whatever that might be. So let's see how this goes. And thank you once again, both of you gentlemen, for saying yes to this crazy idea. I hope I am able to pull this off because I trust both of you. We will be able to pull this off. So before I start off with the questions, do you have anything which you would like to say to people who are listening to us?
Well, I mean, just thanks for having this idea, for inviting us. That's it. Just to keep it short.
Kind. Teapot,
Thanks
any?
for inviting me as well. I was just going to say what I said really, but thanks for inviting me. And the idea is wonderful. I said that to you when you introduced it to me the other day.
I hate both of you for being so modest. I really hate both of you for being so modest, but okay, let's start this. So my first question is kind of a no-brainer. What does testing mean to you? And since I am conducting this, I'll come to all the questions at the last, but we can go in any order. Whoever likes to speak first, they can just go ahead. What is testing?
Okay, I can go first if you don't mind. For me, testing is many things. Among that is exploration, experimentation, also a lot of collaboration and information gathering, critical thinking, creative thinking. It's a very wide field. That's why I love it, essentially. Just to keep my answer short.
Yeah, and for me to add to that, Misa, testing for me is also those things you said. But I also want to add that I have now defined testing as an opportunity to find out a lot of information about the product I'm testing so I can advise or present my findings or advise people on what I would expect the application to do or how I would expect it to do it, what vulnerabilities might be in there. If I find problems along the way, fine, but that is not entirely my point or my purpose of testing. So all of those things Misa said, but I'm tagging behind that to say why also I am doing those things, because back in the days, definition of testing is kind of narrow, or you do X, Y, Z, you find the problem and you resolve the problem. But for me, it has evolved to a lot of different things, like exploring, like Nisa said, challenging the application, even just trying to figure out how the application works and stuff like that. So that is testing to me. It's way more bigger than we used to know what it was before.
I feel I invited two very like-minded people to this conversation. I'm going to say that out loud. I'm feeling guilty right now because I agree with the two of you. I mean, Mirza, you stole my heart away when you said it's too many things for me, because for me also testing is many things and everything probably. And like they say, as that movie's name, everything everywhere all at once. So it's really everything all at once, right? So I mean, I can think as a archaeologist, I can work as a doctor, I can find bugs as a detective. So it's like a multiplayer, multi-role game that you get into. It's so interesting. There's so many perspective layers and aspect to it, and I felt we should be breaking the ice to this roundtable with this question, because like Teapot rightly mentioned, the definition of testing has changed. It used to be so vague when I think all of us started, and the way it is going, I think it has come to another level. And to just sum up my long story short, I feel testing is needed for everything. It could be a rocket, it could be a vaccine. Testing is something which is needed to be done for a plethora of things. And I'm very proud to be a tester first compared to whatever I have become, but I still consider myself as a tester first. So moving on to the second point, or the argument or condition, whatever you might want to call it, is automation. What is the definition for automation for you?
Right. So I think I have publicly said this before, so I'm going to say it again. I consider automation as delegating stuff to technical assistants. That's what I call my automation tool, my technical assistants. So when we talk about automation, there is a whole context which we need to approach talking about it. And I've seen over the years, the conversation narrows down into tools that we use and how we write the test and everything. But I want to go outside of that for a minute. I want to talk about why we would need to automate. Why? And people would say to you, oh, so we can dedicate time to do some other things, right? What are these other things? Now, automation for me is a strategic tool if you know how to use it. You don't necessarily have to use it, but if you know how to use it, it could save you a lot of time. And it could also cost you a lot of money. If you know, so automation is not testing. It's part of, is an aspect of testing that even though a lot of us have technical programming knowledge and, coding skills and all of that, it takes an even bigger skill to be able to convert those coding and programming skills into testing and not development. And that's a conversation we can have another day. But automation for me should not center on the tool or how, no, it should be on why.
Yes.
The fact that we can do it does not mean we have to. I've seen people sit down and try to build frameworks and stuff, and it's taking them forever, and they haven't done a single test in about 3 months. And they were like, oh, we're building the framework. At what cost? And my eyes opened clearly to these things when I became an entrepreneur, like I said, and I have to purchase testing services. And then I realized, oh, so this is how my clients used to feel. Because now I need a product, I need to be assured that my product works. I need to be assured quickly. I need to take the product out there to tell people. So I need to know whether I've got pretty serious problems with it or not. And then it opens my eyes. So, okay, so the other side of what I do as a consultant is the clients that look at me and go, how is it going? What have you done? What can I know from you? So if an automation can be done in such a way that it provides value from relatively quickly and it's not in the way of the project itself, and it does not matter what tool is it. People will go, oh, learn this tool, that tool. No, I just use any tool that I can find. If I don't know it, I learn it. If I, but for me, the skill that is needed for automation is the strategic point of view to know when to deploy it, much more than having the automation skills itself. I don't know if Mirza agree with me, but that's my perspective to automation.
Yeah, very much do. I think automation is a great way to save time. Machines are good at repetitive stuff that's fast, that humans get bored. And in human psychology, if we do same things over and over again, execute the same test cases, we will get sloppy. That's just how our minds play tricks against us. So, I mean, historically, if you look, all the companies that refused to take part in technological advancements, they kind of maybe lost their business, their marketplace value dropped and things like that. And those who embraced all the tools that technology brings kind of improve their business significantly. So it's the same in testing. I think we shouldn't be shy away, discriminate against tools. And I see that a lot of people don't like using low-code tools and things like that. But I think those have also matured a lot, and they deserve a chance and can be used in different contexts. So, I mean, what Teapot said, I 100% agree with it. So, I think we can move on to the next point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think of automation as really what you guys mentioned. But I also think I have been hated not just as a solopreneur in my journey as a solopreneur tester, but even when I was working with companies, because people get very offended when you put that why in front of automation. So if people come to you as we need automation and you're like, why do you need automation? They get really very offended because they just want to automate, I think, for the heck of it, rather than understanding why they want to automate. And for me, it's a lot many things that automation also comprises of. It's not just testing, but it's also maybe regression, repetitive, like you mentioned. It's also about the ROI, right? What's the return on investment? It could be my energy, effort, time, even money, which I'm going to put into the framework and the language and the number of people I will have to train in my team to do that, or maybe even a single resource. So I think, am I asking too boring questions, or we are just all agreeing to each other and we are like, okay, yeah, we are the same kind of testers with the same ethics and we believe this is how it is. So moving on to the third point, which I find very interestingly put these days is record and playback. What are your views on record and playback?
So record and playback is I use that on my Chrome browser all the time. And it doesn't necessarily mean I'm testing something. I use it for so many different reasons. But it is good in terms of testing because it allows you to go back to what you've done. And I try to save the files exactly the same way I've recorded it without being converted from one format to another format. So I don't corrupt the file in any way. I don't change anything. But and there are so many tools that allows you to do that. But what I tend to do with my record and playback files is I go into the code line and I start fiddling with it. It's still the same, trying to automate stuff, trying to feed data from a spreadsheet to it and all of that. But the record and playback skills are very good. The tools are very good. The question is, how do you use them? What do you use them for? How often do you rely on them? For example, if I've done something, I use 4 different browsers on my laptop. The last example, and I think I shared this with James back some time ago. I was doing something and I found a problem. I accidentally stumbled on the problem, but I wasn't recording what I was doing. So I changed browser, fingers crossed, hoping that it happens again, and I started recording what I was doing. And it did happen, so I was able to get it. Right? I was like, oh, okay, so this is the problem. But if I didn't have the tool, I would be trying to explain to you what the problem was. So, but because I had the screen play of it, I can just say, Mirza, I'll just drop this in the chat for you, have a look at it, and you would understand it more than I would explain it to you. So that I use it for that. And then most of the time as well, I use it to support my point or argument about something. Like we're talking now, if we talk about something that I have a file of actual testing event for, I'll just go, I have something like that. And I'll look in my file, find it, I'll drop it for you, and you can see. So it helps me, and it also helps me in teaching as well. When I'm teaching people something and we're talking about something that I have experienced before, that I actually have a record of, I will just go look for the file and send it to you and say, this is what we're talking about. So I use it in so many different ways. But that's my perspective on the record and playback tools.
I love that moment of nervousness when we keep our fingers crossed to recreate something, when you're like, I hope this happens.
Yes, because you're not sure whether it's going to happen again. It might just be a one-time thing that just flashed. It might just be a itch or something, and you go, I missed that. And then you start hoping that please just let it
Oh my
happen
God, that
again.
moment of nervousness, so relatable. And finally, we could make Mirza laugh. Thank God. I was dying
Yeah.
of guilt that I've made a funny man turn into somebody so serious that I
Why
was
so
really dying
serious?
out of guilt. Yeah, like, why so serious? What happened? What did I do to you, Mirza? So I'm so glad you finally smiled and finally laughed. So
Thanks.
what is record and playback for you? Because I would like to record and play that back again, your laughter and smile.
Well, I don't know. I'd see at least like three uses there. One would be you can use it for automation. Like if you use a recorded playback tool like Selenium IDE, you
Mm,
can record some actions and it can
awesome.
generate code for you. You can inspect that code, tweak it a little bit, kind of use it at a starting point. This is especially useful if you're just starting to learn automation. You know, it will give you something to work with for your tests. Uh, Second use case, like Teapot's mentioned, it would be for bug reports. You know, if you're recording something and you have a trace, I mean, there are dedicated tools that capture all this information, and it can be very useful when, you know, submitting bugs to developers. They can just go to it right away. They don't have to go to all the trouble of reproducing the bug. You know, they have all the relevant info. They can look up the logs. And lastly, I've seen record playback used for places when you need manual test cases written, you know, step one, click here, step two, do that. And you go through it, and there's some tools that use like, I think it's called natural language processing or something like that. And they generate the description of the steps based on your actions. So I think Sanjay Kumar has a Chrome extension that called Test Case Studio that does that. So you open a link and the tool generates a sentence that says open the link and click the button and things like that. And you can also use that maybe to save some time if you have to write a lot of test cases for some reason. You know, tools can be very helpful as a time saving kind of help for us in testing.
I would like to save my time and spot by asking the two of you, do you have any personal favorite of yours, like any record and playback plugin or tool that is like a go-to for you guys? Would you like to share any of your favorites, if at all you have any?
I use a tool called OpenScript because it's an Oracle application testing suite record and playback tool. And because I have very good knowledge of Java, so I use that a lot because I can fiddle with Java as much as I like. I'm not very proficient with the rest of the programming languages, so that is my go-to stuff, and I can use that on any application. I can play it on my iPad, or I can run it on any of my devices as well. So I'm very comfortable with that. So that is my go-to tool, and I've been using it for so long. So I'm very biased towards that. Test Case Studio, I mean, of course, Sanjay, I've tried it a few times. I've not had the opportunity to use it a lot of times. But yeah, OpenScript is my go-to tool for record and playback.
What's yours, Mirza? Is it?
Uh, there's this tool from Microsoft for Azure DevOps that I tried and I really like, Test and Feedback. It's like an exploratory testing extension that you can
Okay.
collaborate, report bugs, record test cases, have exploratory session reports, all sorts of nice things. So I pretty much liked using it. It has a lot of potentially very beneficial use cases. So I would say that one.
I
What's it
appreciate.
called? What's it called again, Mirza?
Test and Feedback. It's for
Okay.
Azure DevOps and TFS. It's a Microsoft tool for their
Tool. Okay.
products. Yeah.
I appreciate that you mentioned your bias as well when you were answering that Teapot. But I think we as testers can also have some bias, right? At least in choosing a tool or plugin that helps us save our time and work. So why not? So moving on to the hot topic that we see everywhere in the market, which is low code, no code. What are your views on low code, no code?
First of all, there's no such thing as no code. There's no such thing as low code. What does exist is your level of interaction with the code. So all this low code means that your level of interaction with the tool means you do a little bit of coding, to fiddle around with the code a little bit. The no code means that you have no interaction with the code whatsoever. Now, for some people, that's a good thing. They don't want to write codes, they don't want to be involved with the code, but they still want to do their testing and stuff. For someone like me, that is a problem because I am very nosy. I want to see what the code line is. I want to see if I can fiddle with the code. I want to see if I can extract some code and run some unit tests on my codes, you know. So for me, the low code, no code is not a game changer. It hasn't added any value to me as a tester. I actually fault them more than I would fault the applications that you are responsible for your code and everything. So I don't see them as a benefit. I just see that some people are being smart, trying to sell, stuff to other people. At the end of the day, we encourage testers to have very good knowledge, very good understanding of some coding languages and everything. So why do we want to shift from that position of power and brilliance to a point where we just click on stuff, no interaction with the code as long as we get the job done? No, it becomes boring. For me personally, it will become boring. But when you can look at the line of code and you understand it, and you have the privilege to be able to tweak something like Mirza said earlier, and you can feed data into it, and it becomes exciting. It gives you a lot of, it gives me limitless opportunities to do stuff. And that as testers is what we do. We are not boxed up into a corner to say, do this. I want people to be able to explore, do whatever. And if the no code, low code box you up to a point where you have only limited interaction with the code or no interaction at all, I would not consider that a good thing at all.
So personally for Teapot, low code, no code is low value, no value. if
I can argue that most of the time.
Okay. What do you think about this, Mirza? Like, what are your personal opinion on this?
I haven't used any of them professionally, so I was just like looking at some demos and reading blogs, trying out some maybe trial modes. Nothing really serious with low code and no code tools, but they do operate on a kind of a high abstraction level. So you, in a way, you are using coding logic. It's just the implementation details are very abstract for you. So this can be a big disadvantage to people who are technical testers who know how to code and they want to get in under the hood, but they can't. So these tools can be very limiting to them. But I think places where they have big budgets or where they have testers who are unwilling to learn or don't have time, maybe they have a room for these tools. But so far, I haven't seen a big use for them personally on the projects I worked in. It was always some kind of custom automation solution mostly. And these tools are pretty expensive from what I know. So maybe
they are not cheap.
They work in corporate, I don't know, some big enterprise where they got huge budgets, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan, honestly. I mean, maybe they deserve a chance because I haven't given them that much of a try or don't know them that well, but
Sure.
I stick to the old school stuff for now.
Yeah, so, I do get on Twitter, Mirza, Twitter mostly, I do get direct messages, people offering the tools for me to use on a 2 or 3 months basis and feedback. I done one before, but I just realized I don't have time to do it all the time. But I do get those requests all the time. Maybe I should forward them.
There are so many of those tools. I tried a few, but most of them I just say I don't have time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's where I am at the moment as well. I just don't have the time.
I think that's the biggest hot trend in the market for testing, right? Like since 2022 or 23. That is what we see for the automation testing purposes. And rather than giving my opinion, I would like to have a follow-up on this point because, most of the USP for a low-code, no-code is that many automation testers don't know coding or don't want to code. And so they are selling this low-code, no-code. What do you have to say about that? I'm sorry I'm putting you in the spot, but I genuinely feel like
you're not putting me on the spot. Can you repeat the question? I just want to be sure I get the question right.
I'm saying most of these, low code, no code tools or products or services or whatever they might be, their USP is that most of the automation people either don't have the time or don't want to learn or don't have the time to learn automation. So it really helps your testing team, maybe manual testers become automation testers, and that's like a USP. Do you think that can be taken as something which we can digest as testers?
Sure, that sounds plausible. Um, if you're looking at it theoretically, it sounds very plausible. Oh, people don't know, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the time to go and learn. Well, plausible. It sounds very plausible. But realistically, on a team, you would have a mix of people with very huge experience, highly technically skilled people, and then you have some beginners, freshers, or a year, 2, 3 years experience. Don't forget, we were all freshers sometimes in the past. We were all freshmen and beginners, and in fact, everything we have now. Some people were like that years ahead. Some people are still going to be, now. So realistically, I won't buy that, because for me to buy such tools, I would need to test it, try it out to see that it fits the purpose we want to buy. So for me, it's not whether I have people on my team who are scared of coding, who don't want to code. I have people on my team who knows how to code, who teach other people how to code. So it's a mixed bag. So I wouldn't buy that, oh, because people don't. No, 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 no. That's beside the point. If I'm going to venture into the low code, no code thing, what I will personally look for is how ease of use. How easy is it to set up? Does it take time to set up, to use? What are the licensing stuff in terms of the data? Because I work for clients and I have to provide written documentation that the data is secure with us and stuff like that. So I will look for things like that. And then, like I said earlier, I want something that gives me access to the code, that I can interact with the code. I want to be able to play around with it, break the code and break some things. I like to fiddle around with a lot of it. So the suggestion that, oh, people don't have time, people have time. We study a lot this time. I don't think there's ever any time that we've studied more than we are doing right now. We have time, because everything we do every day is all studying. Basically, is a form of studying now. If you are testing an application that you haven't tested before, that's some 15, 20 years ago, there is no API testing.
Right.
So there's not anyone that can say to me, I am API testing expert. How long have you been doing it? We're all learning it. We were used to integration, switching. I don't know how long Mirza have been doing testing, so you might understand some of these things. Switching, integration, ETL7 messages, and all of those things and everything. That's what I know back then as integration testing. But now you can integrate a lot of things without switching anything. We can. So everything we're doing is learning, and more now. We are depending heavily on getting to know the code more today than we were 10 years ago. So the idea of low code, no code doesn't appeal to me. People have time to study. I wouldn't even take that excuse at all. And on any team that you have people with very good experience and skill that can train, teach. So I wouldn't buy that argument at all, but that's just me.
Mirza, you have anything to add to that?
Oh, well, there are so many of these tools, so I think there must be a market for them. Every goods has a potential customer for it. But I don't know. They all promise the same things, and it's hard to see why is one radically different than the other. But I'd give them a shot, maybe in some areas where they can reduce some really big problems in test automation, like maintenance of tests for especially in UI automation. If there was a tool that can really deliver on that self-healing promise of tests, fixing their locators and all that stuff, that would save some time. But I just don't know enough of these tools to judge them, to say this one does a good job, maybe we should give it a shot. I would have to look into the whole field more to, say with certainty. But right now, I'm a little skeptical, to be honest. about
I
these
just
tools in
wanted
general.
your opinion. I don't want you to try any of them. Or I understand you guys don't have time to do that, but it was just understanding your opinion about it. And my last pointer for the two of us or all of us today is, there used to be this age-old prophecy that when automation will come in, it will eat up testing jobs. I think automation came, went, and we all still survived, right? Because it became a part of our testing career and journey and job. But what do you think about AI and testing? Do you think AI will eat up testing job and there is no future for testing because of it?
Um, the first statement I made in 2020 publicly in the test chat conversation about AI
Mhm.
is someone has to test it as well. So you would always need people to test. So regardless of what you think of AI, someone has to test it too. Whatever product you provide from AI, someone has to test it. I am implementing free tools that are AI driven into my digital library, and we're currently doing that. And I can guarantee you that it is human beings that are doing the testing. So the idea that AI would come and take all our jobs away and all of that, that was the same thing I had about automation about 20 years
Yeah.
ago. It is not true. What would be true though is, and this is true now compared to 20 years ago, the type of testing we do would change, or how we test. We would have access to a lot of different tools. We'll have access to a lot of different things that I don't even know how to describe them now because I don't know what they will be. But it won't take away the fact that you would need someone to actually do those things. But how we do it will differ. The tools we use will differ. I don't know if you saw, I saw a demonstration of GitHub autopilot or something a few days ago where the GitHub thing can actually fix your code if you have a problem and can correct your. So, but you still need a human being at the center. And my thing is, for every automation setup, the most significant part of that automation setup is the human being at the center of it. So that is my belief, even with AI as well. I can take automation out of that statement and put AI in it, and it will still be correct as far as I'm concerned.
Mirza, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like this happened historically before this whole panic that we'll get fired, robots will take our jobs, but I don't see that happening. I think it will be tools like ChatGPT can be used like to generate some coverage for you, different test combinations, the grunt work kind of stuff that would take a lot of time, but it's not very intellectually fulfilling. So I don't think you can automate human creativity and critical thinking and decision making also. I mean, like Teapot said, I mean, an AI tool can check your code, maybe provide some improvements or fixes, but it can't make like architectural decisions on your behalf, at least not yet. I think we're safe for the near future, at least from these robots, I guess.
Hopefully.
So on that note, I would like to end my first roundtable that I have had with such amazing humans that I invited today. I don't know how you guys found this roundtable, Mirza, Teapot, but I would love to have your feedback with me. And thank you so much for giving me your time today. It really meant the world to me. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks a
so
lot for
much,
having
Shruti.
us.
Thanks for having us. It's not that we agree on everything. I'm sure that if you question us further, we will fall out on something.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
definitely, but the things we've talked about today, that there are things that we need to talk about regularly, actually, because the conversation keeps evolving
Yes.
every single time. So, but thanks for having us. I've enjoyed myself here today. So thank
Yeah,
you.
let's always be kind to our virtual assistants, just to be safe for the future. You never know.
Is being recorded.
Okay, this meeting is being recorded. So like, I just wanted to say that we should be all kind to our Google assistants, Alexa, Cortana, all of them. You know, so maybe the robots spare us in the future when they finally take over. That's it.
That's such a dark humor and sarcasm. Like, I just can't digest it. You had to be Mirza after all, right? You had to do your trademark.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I love it. I love it. And again, thank you so much for the two of you to giving me your time today, because I really enjoyed this conversation. I don't know about the viewers. I hope they'll let us know. I don't know about the two of you. If you guys have any feedback, you can let me know. But it was really great to host two giant, amazing, legendary testers and have them chat with me. And yeah,
Mirza is the giant. I don't know about the giant. Mirza is the giant.
Thanks, guys. Well, I've been told I'm pretty tall, so yeah.
the physicality of it. I was just trying to compliment on the stature of how amazing testers you are. But I think now Teapot is really pulling my leg and nothing else.
Mm.
I mean, were
No,
you
it's okay.
or mine, or were you killing two birds with the same stone?
No, you know, you're giving tribute to giant. I mean, Mirza is the giant. I'm the assistant giant. So,
Thanks.
well, the conversation was very good.